Perfect. Thank you.
Dude, is that one of those old school like workout trampolines in your background, Tyler?
Yeah, man.
Dude, that's like 1985 aerobic style.
Yeah, man.
You getting on that much, Ty? All right, Ty, you ready to blow the whistle?
Why not, man?
All right, let's get it started. Timeout, Tyler. Who are we taking a timeout with today?
Oh, it's Kevin. Well, we're taking a full timeout with Bob Bailey, everybody, the Chief Everyone Officer and founder at Truth Collective. Bob, thanks for being on the show today. I'm down here in Texas. Kevin's holding it down up there in Rochester where y'all are. And I wanted to start out by asking you, who do you have winning March Madness this year?
St. Bonaventure.
Okay, the Bonnies. It was at the Fighting Jimmy Barons. Is that
it? Oh, that's old school. That's an old school reference. No, we're the Bonnies. They're the Bonnies. So we didn't make the tournament, but I still think they're a dark horse. They're in the NIT at the moment. So I got no local interest. in the tournament this year, which is a little different. But
it is.
How about you guys?
Without Syracuse, and mine went home early. I had the most embarrassing loss of the tournament potentially. Kentucky losing to St. Peter's.
Kentucky.
Well, yeah, so
amazing.
that was pretty embarrassing. But I self-reflected that evening, and with everything else going on in the world, I couldn't be that mad about the loss. So, but Tyler's team's still in Arkansas, the Razorbacks.
Yeah, man, we're in the Sweet 16 by shooting 27% the other night. You know, it was a rock fight, but we made it happen. You know, it was good. It was good stuff. But yeah, we're still calling the Hogs down here.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. Texas went home too, but. So Bob, Tyler and I always try to like get to know the leaders on a more personal level, and we always learn through a lot of either where you eat, what you listen to. So I'm going to start off with, what is your favorite place if you were to take Tyler and I out to dinner in here in Rochester? Where would you take us out?
We'd go to Good Luck, and we'd sit at the bar. And we would drink old fashions and eat gigantic burgers.
Awesome. With that special dipping sauce.
The sauce. We mainline the sauce as well. We'd have a nurse mainline us.
Oh,
because you can't get enough of it.
And Bob, I'm friends with the Barron family. Did you ever have the Jim Barron burger on St. Bonnie's campus? I'm not sure where it was from, but he has a famous burger down there.
I'm not. I actually did not go to St. Bonaventure. I might be one of the only one in my family who has not gone there. Even my son goes there, but I did not go there. So
it is very cult like. My wife went to Bonaventure, and when everybody from that went to Bonaventure hears Bonaventure or Bonas, their ears perk up, and it's like instantaneous friends. It's a pretty special place. Tyler, I don't know if you're referring to the Burton Burger, but maybe that's what they later renamed, but. Oh God!
Useful information, guys.
We're driving down to Olean, back to your hometown. You know, we got a little ride here from Rochester. What song would we be listening to that almost every word to?
Oh, I think we'd be pumping. Depends on the mood, but we'd probably be pumping like "Dreams" by Van Halen or Master of Puppets by Metallica, something like that. Something really, get the pulse racing, get the heart, pounding, kind of a thing. It's a boring drive. Like, you need help. It's a tough drive. But yeah, I would do something like that.
Scenery doesn't change too much.
Doesn't.
Little Master Puppets, love it, Bob. Well, what the heck gets you out of bed nowadays, Bob? It looks like you've done everything from account executive all the way to being a CEO and a founder of a company. So what to this day, what gets Bob Bailey's juices going to crank Master Puppets?
Just Tyler, it's like it's trying to get better, but keeping that in perspective, I'm I'm doing, I do a lot of work to try to, keep a good perspective on what's been going on and what's happening so far. But I always just feel this need to, I always feel like there's another level, there's another level, there's another level. And it's tough to crack those. And I just like to give myself time to do it. I get up super early. I like a couple hours of real quiet time before I start the day. So I get up around 4 generally. Today I was up at 3:45.
Oh my gosh.
What time you going? What time you hitting the sheets? 7, 6 o'clock?
No, like pretty early, like 10:30, something like that.
Yeah.
That's
No
a good
wonder you're
amount,
so
though.
efficient with your time, Bob. That's amazing. And
It's a
I
good
love
amount.
what you're searching for another level, right? It's
Yeah.
never enough. You're always learning, and you're always trying new things, it sounds like. And what better way to do that today in today's environment, where we're talking about failing fast. How did you, knowing that you're a PR, right, and you're the work that you guys are currently doing over there, communications well. How did you guys fare during the pandemic when things started to really change?
Yeah, so I'm finally back on solid food after after that year. No, it was a real mixed bag for us, and I think I think within a couple of days, like we left the office on the 13th, Friday the 13th, and then like that weekend it just kind of hit me. Like I knew something was happening, and it wasn't just going to be a couple of weeks. And like Tuesday we had a leadership team meeting and really kicked everything into gear. We normally have like 90-day plans together as a business. We do 4 90-day plans instead of one annual plan. But this time we did a 30-day plan, and then we did another 30-day plan, and then we did another 30-day plan. And I would say that our whole objective that year was about people preservation and about team preservation. So it was not about, hitting growth targets and profit margin targets and things like that. And so from that standpoint, we did really well. We were able to maintain the vast majority of the team, which was terrific. We held on to all of our clients. And from a business standpoint, we wound up being like up, I think like 8%. We had a lot of people slam on the brakes and stop altogether. We had another couple really double down. And so it sort of worked itself out in the balance. And we actually spent a lot of our time sort of giving free ideas and free advice to lots and lots of people, our clients included. And we just tried to help as many people as we could. And we wound up, a touch ahead of where we were. And it kept the team together. And that was super rewarding. I remember feeling that, sort of midway, like in June of that year, if we're able to get through the year and like not do any of the furlough stuff that was super prevalent, like if we could just get through that stuff, get through the year without doing that stuff, it was going to be a massive win. And so we did, and I considered that a win. But things started coming back a little bit last year. We had sort of a later rebound than a lot of agencies did, because a couple of our clients were going through pretty big reorgs last year. And so that sort of set us back a little bit more, but things really started kicking in back to normal probably around Q3 of last year. But all things considered, I'm happy with where we are, and the people that left, or we've been able to sort of upgrade positions, and I think our talent right now is the highest that it's ever been. So we're the best version of us so far.
Awesome, Bob. Well, thanks for sharing that. And I was going to ask you, do you see any benefits to having? I'm all about like a 30-day plan. Heck, I'm about a 24-hour plan, if you ask me. Did you see any benefits going from a 90-day plan to a 30-day plan? Like, can you kind of expand on that?
Sure. I mean, the more, generally speaking, I've learned the more granular you can make your goals, the better. Like even when you sit down and do your I do a daily plan, and I literally I write it down here. Like this is it's daily, and it's like painfully detailed. That's what that discipline did for us. And so it got us very detailed in terms of like, I'm calling these 3 people today. You're calling these 4 people today. And we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And then what really helped it too, every Friday we had an all agency meeting called What's on Your Mind. And it was optional, but it was there, and we were giving updates on the week. Here's what we set out to do. Here's what we did. Here's what happened. And then just gave sort of a free form for everybody to ask questions, talk about stuff. And those things, like the granular details and the accountability at the end of the week, was really important.
Dude, awesome.
You had to show up for those people, because they had questions.
I bet. And they probably had some things on their mind as well.
A lot of stuff on their mind.
You titled it there. Can you kind of dive in real quick about Truth Collective? I haven't been up in Rochester in a minute. Can you just kind of dive into a 30,000 view of what y'all do over there?
Sure, absolutely. We're a strategic brand and communications firm. There's about 34 of us here, and we consider ourselves to be one honestly creative company. That's what we sort of rally around, and that's what we promise our clients. And we don't do everything. We don't do all things. We don't try to be this, one-stop shop for everything. We do 3 things really well that we love to do and that brings us joy. We do brand positioning and identity work as sort of a specialty area. We do brand storytelling. So figuring out how to really express your brand in engaging emotional ways that's going to drive your business. And we also offer something we call Grow on Purpose business strategies, where we can help a company with their corporate strategy work and then actually create a business plan to support that corporate strategy. So well beyond marketing, more about sort of the heart of business. We love helping our clients grow their business.
Dude, that's awesome. That sounds fun, Bob.
It can be.
Especially, I bet. Yeah. Well, you're telling someone else's story for them, coming from that outside perspective that they might not see would be, very beneficial in my mind. And I love being creative. I love it when I'll never forget when I worked at Bright Computers up there, and the Smith family just told me, "Hey, Tyler,
they're great."
They said, "Dude, we need to pump Tyler White out as much as we can." And I was like, "Are you sure?" It was awesome, man. And so who are some of your, I'd say, role models, or who do you bounce ideas off up there? Are there any other leaders that you kind of get with, just say, "Hey, this is what I'm stinking at right now," or this is what I'm excelling at? Are there any names you can throw out that you collaborate with?
So I'm really I'm blessed and fortunate. I have 2 great partners. And so I always start with my partners, Jeremy Schwartz and John Roberts. And we've worked together for, I don't know, probably close to 20 years at this point. And we are, absolutely, certainly business partners, but we're more, business family. And we really we're really complementary to one another. And so we've gotten to a point in our relationship that we can really just be incredibly honest and incredibly helpful to one another. So I always start with those guys first. And I have a coach, actually. I have a performance coach that I've been working with for a couple of years. And I reach out to her on a regular basis and bounce stuff off her. And her name's Carrie Ledoux. She's fantastic. And, I have a few folks who people that I used to work for along my way. And I stay in touch with them and get their take whenever I need it.
Right on, Bob. Well, man, that's awesome. I think we've heard Carrie's name passed around. I think this is one of our 55th episode of CEOs in Rochester. So everything's kind of intertwining by this point.
Maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Bob, I just wanted to ask you real quick, since the trust and truth is right in the name of the business itself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How do you build that internally, right, with your own people? You said you got better during the pandemic or after the pandemic here. So you got even more higher caliber of talent. A lot of it relied on trust. And I know you mentioned you didn't furlough, you didn't get rid of people. So I know you weren't rebuilding that, but how have you established that accountability and that trust internally?
It's a great question. And it starts with, I think, being a real person. And it starts with being, people talk about throw, vulnerability around quite a bit. And for me, I think it's about it's being really clear with people about, what the vision is for the company and what the role is of everybody and every team in delivering that vision. I think great people, I think they need very little. I think they need to know where you're going, to see their roles in it, and then to see some progress along the way. And then coaching them to fill in those gaps is really where it's at. So I think clarity in those ways is important. And I think the ability to, when I make a mistake, I say it. If I screw something up, I tell people. If I say something I shouldn't have said, I apologize. I'm fast to apologize if I made a mistake. I don't know. I think it's just being present. I have a new employee who's been with us for about 45 days. And she was saying, she's like, it's really interesting. Like, a lot of CEOs don't talk to people. Like, they don't, which is, I don't understand how you do the job if you're not doing that stuff. But I don't know. I think those things matter. There's actually a really good book on trust, and it's pretty well researched that trust is, it's a pretty basic formula. Trust is a combination of credibility, reliability, and intimacy. Like, somebody, when you know somebody really well. So those three things coming together. But then it's really delicate because it's divided by self-interest. And so if you think about like a math equation, I was never a math star, but if you think about like a simple equation of credibility plus reliability plus intimacy divided by self-interest, the second that relationship becomes about you've divided all of that really good work, and you've minimized and diminished all of that good work. And so I'm really mindful of that in the way that I lead my teams here. I'm really mindful of that in our client relationships. It's all the same, right? And so our teams talk about it. So I think those things, they all matter. A lot matters, but it all comes down to trust.
Love it, Bob. I always think back on my experience, and people ask me just kind of leadership questions every now and then, and my answer is kind of what you said. I do a lot of things that I don't really want to do for myself, and it somehow works out for me and and everyone in the long run. And it just makes no sense why you're doing it. It's like, you put some of these actions forward, and this is just my experience, but I just love hearing CEOs at y'all's level, reiterate that I'm not a crazy man out here, so that, it's funny to me how life actually works. The more you don't think about yourself, the more things fall into place, it seems like.
I think it matters, and that's where this sort of idea about the reframing the whole role of CEO was, I had this idea for like this, well, no, the org chart's wrong. The org chart is upside down. So if you flip the old org chart that we all learned about in business school with the CEO on the top, if you turn it on its head, the CEO works for everybody else. And that's how I view my job, is like the chief everyone officer. I report to everybody. And I work in service to those teams who, as long as our teams are focused on, the vision, and they have the values of Truth Collective, like, everything's going to be fine. And so I really view myself as reporting to them. And you're right, it tends to work itself out.
If I get out of my own way, Bob.
Yeah. And Bob, I'm struggling over here this morning, so I apologize. But
I'm sorry, you're feeling bad.
How much better does that make your relationships, though? Like, in the communication, right? Does being able to put yourself, I guess, in that frontline employee's shoes, and really understand what they're getting from a customer base, but also from their family life, How important has that been as you kind of design what you want to do for the organization moving forward?
It's super important, Kevin. And, frankly, a lot of this is, these are things that these are insights that I've come across probably later in my career, like even more recently, like in the past, 2-3 years or so. I've always believed, like as a leader, that you work in service to your team. But really until a couple of years ago, I really didn't have I don't think I had the enough self-awareness and perspective to really understand fully what that meant, but more importantly, to fully like lean into that and make it real. And I had to like get through a bunch of my own stuff in order to be able to totally, completely let my guard down. And what I realized is like with this perspective, like I want everybody to feel I want everybody to have sort of a refreshed take on work and to be able to balance their lives. And like a lot of people, I'm gonna be 52 years old. Like a lot of us, like we did really unreasonable shit in our career, like super unreasonable stuff. And it was all in the name of service, and it was all in the name of this badge of being a grinder, really hard worker, in order to scale the organization and stuff. And I think that I think there's a better way, and I don't want to create a meat grinder environment, for our people, like like a lot of us, grew up in. So I just respect people's lives, and there's definitely some things that if I could do again, I would do them again, personally. And I feel like as I gain this knowledge and these insights, like I wish I would have felt this way. Like what would have happened if I would have known this when I was 30? Like what would be different? And so now I really have this obligation for all of our staff to try to help them figure this stuff out early on in their career. I don't know if that answers your question.
That is refreshing to hear, Bob. It answered it for me, man. I know all about the grind work, and growing up in the 90s, and my dad was like a high school football coach in Texas, and I wouldn't feel anything unless I felt the grind, And now I do. It's almost, I don't know to say I do less, but golly, you don't have to grind, right? It's almost a made up thing to beat your chest on, or to just say, oh, I stayed up till 4 last night. Who cares? Live a little bit, or live a lot. But I love what you're saying, Bob. You're really just the flipping the pyramid. I just wanted to rewind real quick back to when I think we were first talking. You were saying, getting better, just a little bit, because I believe when we first start something or a passion project, we go leaps and bounds getting better. It's just, you see a huge growth at first. And then all of a sudden, you see this really dissected amount of growth each day. And Kevin and I were on the phone call with one of John Wooden's players a while back, and he was mentioning that, Larry Bird would talk about, yeah, sure, I got, great by segments and segments, leaps and bounds and yards, and then it got down to millimeters. How do you keep that up? I don't know if you answered it earlier, but I wrote it down over here. Where's the motivation to get better by a centimeter a day, if you will?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I've been really, my coach has really pounded this into me. But everybody thinks business is like this nice, easy, straight 45-degree angle curve. You know what I mean? And life progresses that way, but it doesn't. I mean, there's knots in it. There's all this stuff that gets in the way. And what I found, Tyler, is that I can work at something and even not really like experience like sort of immediate breakthroughs on things. But what happens to me over time is like every few months, I'll reach a new level on something, and I'll just like things will just sort of come together, and I'll be like, oh, I got it now. That makes sense, because like you sort of layer in all these little things and you practice them, and sometimes you're good and sometimes you suck at it. But like eventually you're gonna break through that thing. And I kind of live for that feeling of the breakthrough, like that insight. sometimes it hits you like a bolt of lightning. It's like, oh, I totally understand this now. And it seems crazy, but yeah, it's for me, it's about patience, you know,
Okay.
it's about patience.
Awesome, Bob.
Trying to be patient.
That's a tough one, right? And battling that unknown, but when that unknown reveals itself, it's like, boom, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I keep doing the next right thing, or keep waking up every morning, sharpening my axe and not just settling, and you talk.
I think it's been like, it's actually been getting comfortable with the unknown, and actually liking the unknown, which is interesting because I've always been a planner. I've always liked to control as much shit as I thought I could control. But you really, in the real world, like, you don't really control all that much. You control what you say, what you do, and how you act, but that's really about it. And so I've gotten so that I actually enjoy the anticipation of the unknown stuff, because I feel like it'll be fine.
That's awesome. And it usually is, right?
It usually is.
We still have the dipping sauce at good luck for our burgers, by God. And
that's proof.
I don't think it's going to get that bad. Comfortable with the unknown. That's awesome, Bob. That's good to hear from a gentleman like you. And you mentioned before we got on the call about messing up, right? Like we all learn from messing up. Can you just share with us one of your experiences where you grew from a possible mistake you made? I mean, you don't have to share it, but fire away if you could.
I will. And there was, it was a few years ago, maybe, I don't know, 3-4 years ago. And like I told you, I'm a work in progress here, but there was somebody, we have our office is wide open. So there's, just wide open, sort of long desks and things like that. And so, when people are talking, what's going on. One of my folks came to me and said, she brought me, there was a mistake. I don't remember exactly what it was, but there was a mistake, and the client was upset about it. And she was standing there, we were out in the open. I didn't even look her in the eye, and I let her finish, and I said, well, that was really stupid. And everybody heard it. And it was one of those things where it's like, that was actually like a defining kind of moment for me, where it's like, you know what, that is, it might not have been the smartest thing, but you know what, nobody intended for that to happen. And, I let the stress of that get to me, and I let some judgment take over the driver's seat for a half a second. And that happened. And that happens in offices all over the place every single day. But it really, I actually think about it quite a lot. And it was one of those things that it probably set me off on this journey to find a new level of I'd shown a level of proficiency with marketing strategy and branding and the stuff that we do. But in terms of the real leadership and the coaching aspect and everything else, that was my next level that I had to really break through and start to get my arms around. So that's a mess up. I wish I could get that one back.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing, Bob. And it's just awesome that you grew from it, and then you started a new Bob Bailey, it sounds like, to get to another level. So I think you're helping more than you know. Well, I wanted to kind of pick your brain. You were an account manager back in the day, it looks like, from 93 to 99. Mm-hmm. And for all the account managers and account execs out there, could you just kind of chime in and give a little advice on, I don't know if it's a relationship building. It took me a long time to understand that about business, but what would your top 2 or 3 takeaways from being that account manager, today, and just how could you help sales dudes out, because real quick, Bob, I didn't understand this relationship thing till I met the Smiths in a way up there. And then I met Kevin, and I remember meeting Kevin. I was like, who is this guy who knows everybody? And I was reaching out to a law firm for Bright. And Kevin was like, put my name in the email. And I was like, dude, I've emailed this guy 98 times. Put Kevin's name with a Y in the email. The guy got on my calendar and booked a meeting. I'll never forget that. Then I would hear Justin Smith's and Trevor Smith's just 25 years of building relationships from Pittsburgh to just you name it, they're in it, and they're not doing it like
great
you said,
family
for them. Oh, amazing to John Smith. But just being like a young account manager out there, what advice would you give him, starting off?
Yeah. So I think it's simple but not easy. I would say focus on, as we talked about, be credible. Like, know what you're talking about and offer advice. Don't just take orders. Don't be in the service business. Be in the help business. Be in the advice business. Whatever your craft is, be credible in it. Be reliable. Do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. Be interested in that person. There's a saying I tell everybody: if you want to be interesting, be interested. And so be interested in what Tyler's got going on and what's going to make his job better, and do it with no agenda. And so that's that sort of that trust foundation. But I think more than anything, it's like, be okay giving bad news. Tell the truth. There is like so many companies, so many, where it's frowned upon, where they believe that it's exposing weakness of the company and all that stuff. And, it's just not true. And so all that does is place way too much burden on you, the account manager. And so I think at the end of the day, be your own person and don't be afraid to tell the truth.
Absolutely. And that's awesome, Bob. And I could not agree more. I almost think it's almost comical sometimes when you bring that bad news quickly, kind of throws people off. They're like, what are you telling me this right now? I'm like, this is what's happening, sir. But if you do it in real time, rather than wait a couple of days and then they see that
it's
time
worse
stamp
and worse and worse and worse. All no one likes a surprise. No one likes a stale surprise. Everybody really hates that.
Oh my goodness. Well, what's one thing that the folks over there at True Collective, they don't know about you? What's one thing they don't know about Bob Bailey?
That's a good question. First of all, your list of questions is massive. Like, I don't know. Like,
we don't even go through that anymore, Bob. We just let it rip, man. I don't have anything in front of me besides a cup of coffee, man.
Yeah. I don't know. I talk about it a little bit. I wasn't a great student in school. I got a lot of my geometry teacher called my mom in for a conference one time to tell my mom how much of an idiot I am. Special conference for that. I got more progress reports sent home than decent grades. So I don't know. I wasn't a great student. Gosh, I don't know. I'm not that interesting. I wish I had something better for you. I haven't done time. I haven't done anything like that.
I haven't done time. Well, can you kind of dive into what this Punxsutawney is? Can you kind of let us know about that?
Yeah, Punxsutawney is a new company that we launched. We created it last year, and we actually went live with our direct-to-consumer website actually just a couple of weeks ago. And it's actually part of something we created called Truth Ventures. Entrepreneurialism is a really big deal for us. And Truth Ventures is kind of an incubator process that we've created here. And it's for ideas that our staff have for products or businesses. And so we want to help people achieve their dreams. And sometimes that's business ownership. So we created this sort of Truth Ventures thing to do that. Now, Punxsutawney was actually an idea that my partner, Jeremy Schwartz, had. During the pandemic, a lot of people started doing puzzles, when you were just staying home and stuff. And all the puzzles were lame. And so we're all music fans. And he's like, guys, like, what if we started a company around this punk rock puzzle, and these images that, no one's ever seen before, like these really one-of-a-kind images. And so we explored it. We did some research on it. We tested the concepts. And there's an opportunity for it. And so we've been working on licensing deals with Johnny Rotten and HR from Bad Brains and finding manufacturers. And now we've got this business around puzzles and Punxsutawney. And for us, it's about it's a bit of a creative outlet, but it's also, I think it'll help us be better marketers for our clients. Like, if we really know what their world is like, then I think it's going to make us better strategists, better marketers. And Part of, I think our future is, at Truth Collective, we're going to be a collective of companies that do a variety of different things. So we've got plans to sort of expand genres and things like that, but definitely check it out. It's not a typical puzzle. We create a Spotify playlist with the artist. And so, Johnny Rotten recommended the songs to listen to while you build the Johnny Rotten puzzle. There's liner notes in there, like the old school albums. And 3% of our sales go to Music Cares. Music Cares is an organization that supports artists. There's not a lot of support for rock stars out there once they're done touring and stuff. So we're trying to do some good things for the business and for them too.
Dude, that is amazing. And did I hear it correctly?
That's awesome.
You have something in place for if your staff has an idea that you look into it and see if you can help and back it a little bit?
Yeah. So Punchless is the first thing off the ground. We're exploring another product right now from one of our employees. But the idea is, like, a lot of people, sometimes they want to own their own business. And so I want to help them do that, and we're actually working out a process now, like, a sort of a 5-step thing. And, if there's an opportunity for like joint ownership, cool, let's look into that. If they just want our advice, we'll just give them our free advice. And, we want people to be successful and be happy in whatever their pursuits are.
That's special right there, Bob. I've not heard of that in my life.
Thanks. Yeah, we're excited about it.
Kevin, are you back? Kevin's having a tough go today.
Barely, but clinging to life over here. But it sounds like a great conversation, Bob, and I'm so sad I missed most of it. But what you just said there is just so important. It's just caring about somebody else's other success. And I can just tell from everything that you do and everything that your team does that that's really your intention behind everything. And I think that we can see, obviously, from the success that you've had, but the team you've been able to build around you. And it has to be said for that innovation that you're tapping into in your own employees and scratching that entrepreneurial itch. As you set the future direction of the company, you mentioned how important it is for everybody to understand, well, where are we headed?
Yep.
And there's a lot of change coming, right? The world of work is changing. Where are you guys headed as far as the future of Truth Collective?
It's a good question. We have 3 priorities for Truth right now. And it is first, and they're in order of priority. First is employee well-being. And we are in the process right now. I just added a new role. It's called the Director of People and Purpose. And it's not your typical HR role. Our person, she's actually my accomplice in really trying to reinvent how agencies work. And we're going to we're already underway with a proprietary Truth Collective work experience that really embodies the whole person. So not just give me 55 hours this week. It's really intended to understand who Tyler is versus who Kevin is, and figure out, the optimal ways for you to work at Truth. We are working toward, believe it or not, a 35-hour work week. Our industry is a grinder. It is a meat grinder, and it is really damaging to people. And so research shows that your optimal level of productivity is 35 good hours a week. And so we're doing things right now to help our staff understand their mindset. And we're actually creating schedules to help people do that. And I'd rather have 35 great hours than 55 shitty ones and crispy ones, right? And so that's what everybody else is going for. They're going for volume. I'm going for quality. And so I think that is sort of like, those are my sort of 2 centerpiece, my centerpiece initiatives right now as it relates to our people and how we're adapting to the new world of work. we're only in the office a couple days a week. I'm really trying to figure out, the best way to do that. In particular, like with a lot of our folks that we're recruiting now, most of them don't live in the area, and most of them won't live in the area. And so, not because our area is not nice, but just because you don't have to anymore, right? And so, trying to figure out that and sort of reinvent the nature of our physical space here, away from like individual work areas, but we're reinventing it for community and collaboration. Those points in time where we want to come together, we need to come together for maximum impact and creative energy. That's what I'm trying to solve for now. But it's interesting, man. There's no shortage of stuff to figure out.
Dude, that is awesome, Bob. And I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I wanted to ask you, what's the talent like when you get to expand it to the United States of America rather than, the 585 up there? Have you seen an increase in creativity and what you're bringing in? And no offense to, like you said, the area, but I mean, why not do that?
There's terrific talent in upstate Western New York for sure. But what we find now is like we're looking for a director of brand strategy now, and we have 140 applicants for that position. We've never had 140 applicants for any position, let alone something that specific. And they're from all over the place, and they're doing amazing work, and they could literally work anywhere, but they're super interested in the cultural aspects of truth. And these things that we're talking about, they're very different from what other agencies do. And so it's got appeal. It's different, but we're enjoying meeting people from all over the place, and not really caring where you live.
Dude, that is awesome, Bob. From a 35-hour work week to 140 applications for that such a niche, opening. That's huge. And I'm in the recruiting world, and I know exactly what you mean. I work with some clients and they won't open it up, and I'm like, well, and then they want people on site for 5 days a week, and I'm like, well, all right, you're going to be probably waiting.
That is dead, man. That is dead. That is dead. Like, I don't know what's more dead than dead, but it's that, like, whatever that is. Like, people aren't afraid anymore. They're just done with like old ideas of work.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, Bob, well, it's been great having you on. Kevin had some technical troubles today. Who cares? It's all good, and not everything's perfect.